I was on cloud nine. And it was like, oh my God, I get to be with my husband all the time. I don't have to go home. Our home is together. I love my marriage so much, but I don't really recommend marriage to other young people because I just know like what it took to get here. That hardship also launched us into how to deal with disagreements when you live with somebody, because when you're dating and you deal with disagreements, you can just walk away for a little bit. Okay, my name is Seneca. Welcome to my casual YouTube channel. This is where I talk anything casual or monumental related to life. And today, the topic just happens to be my 1-year anniversary. Me and my husband have been married for 1 year officially, and I want to just spill all of the tea that I have to offer about it. I just bit my lip. Upon reaching a year, I just feel so incredibly full of joy in relation to this because, technically it's not like a grave accomplishment to reach a year, but it is something I just feel very sentimental about. The fact that me and my husband have grown together from the time that we got married to now, the amount of changes that have happened in our life, the amount of things that we have gone through together is incredibly monumental and just needs to be acknowledged. And what also needs to be acknowledged in a very honest way is just the tea of what it takes to be here. So I want to split this video up into the different components of marriage that can relate to many different marriages, because this video is honestly a little bit difficult to make because marriage means so many different things to so many different people. But I find that these are kind of like the through lines of all marriages, which are these are the through lines of marriages. Okay, I'm sorry, I had to re-say that in like a way that made more sense. So you have the phases of your marriage that you go through. In my opinion, this is just from my perspective, these are the phases that me and my husband have gone through. So the phase one is infatuation. So you're infatuated and enamored with your husband or your partner or whoever the heck you're married to, and you're just kind of enamored with the idea of marriage. That's phase one. Phase two is the reality of coexisting with one another hits after the infatuation. And then phase three, because honestly, like only being married a year, I only have 3 phases in my arsenal. I can't think of anything else because we don't have that much experience together. But phase three is a mix of infatuation and reality. And I find that me and my husband are kind of in the phase three of that, of like being married a year. So, and then after the phases is also like just me kind of expanding on the idea of the reality of coexisting with one another, because really that is kind of the most interesting part and kind of the most trying part of being married, is just coexisting with somebody who you love the most in the world. Really, like that I find to be the most trying, but also to be kind of one of the most rewarding things that you can do. But yeah, I wanted to more expand on that and not just talk about it in the way that it's just a phase of the marriage, because it's so much more than that. The reality of coexisting with the person you're married to comes with, changes and hardships and learning each other's needs and wants and desires and trying to appeal to that, dealing with disagreements, whether they're little disagreements, like why do you use that much freaking toothpaste on your toothbrush, or like fundamental disagreements like that's difficult. So the reality I just want to expand on a little bit more, because I find that to be the most impactful, largest component of marriage that newlyweds we are not experienced in but need to discuss and dissect before we're kind of discussing them in relation to just not being able to deal with them. And then I also want to talk about the joy and stability of a partnership, because I find that the joy and stability of dating my husband has been far different than being in a marriage with him. And that's something that needs to be acknowledged. But what also needs to be acknowledged is the best parts of not only my marriage, but marriage in general. Marriage is a beautiful, amazing thing. Okay, so really quickly, I'm so sorry. I know this is so annoying when interruptions are made just for people to be like, please like my YouTube video, please, please, please. Like, I know it's annoying. But for real, the more people that let me know that they like the video in some way kind of signals to YouTube that this video is worth watching to other people. So I just would really appreciate that. Okay, bye. Also, if you want to leave a comment, leave a comment. I love discussion and commentary. And as much as I love my marriage and I wouldn't change anything about my life, I also, this is gonna sound like I'm just reverse Unoing everything I've ever just said about marriage and how much I love it, but I love my marriage so much, but I don't really recommend marriage to other young people because I just know like what it took to get here. And if you can put that off for as long as possible, do that. I do want to acknowledge the best parts of me and my husband's relationship and just marriage in general, which are separate from the joy of the stability of the marriage, because I feel like those are more unique, you know? This is very classic, typical speech 101. In order to talk about a topic, you're going to have to define it. So, technically, marriage is, I guess, defined as two individuals in a partnership that are legally recognized as partners, right? That's what a marriage is. I didn't chat GPT it at all. I didn't Google it at all. I just wanted all of this to be from my mind because I have a video that's based on things that ChatGPT has given me, but this is more really like a very personal to me, so I wanted to make it very specific to me. Marriage is kind of hard to define because it means different things to different people. Some people get married so that they can have citizenship in the country that the person that they're married to, you know? Some people get married because they feel socially that's what is next in order to progress their relationship when it's like could or couldn't be, you know? My husband and I, however, are married because we have a desire to build lifelong stability with each other, um, to grow a family, and to be encapsulated and surrounded by unconditional love together every single day in little and small in little and big ways. We show that to each other. That's what I define me and my husband's marriage as. Phase 1 is just the infatuation of being with your partner. I, previous to having been married to my husband, never lived with a boy, never lived with my husband. My husband is a boy. That kind of just cancels out, except for like my brothers when I was young, because we had come off of long distance, you know? And when you come off of long distance, everything is exciting when you can be next to the person. So, in the very beginning, even coming off of the wedding, because like you spend so much time being so stressed out and so involved in the process of wedding planning that you're just like, well, it'll be worth it because we're gonna be married one day. Like, it'll all be worth the stresses of wanting to be together and then finally being together, reaching that goal just adds to the romanticization of each other and of the relationship, which plays into the infatuation of now finally being married. The first week of marriage, I have a video on it. Me and my husband, like, it was like the one of the first videos I ever did. It's like a vlog style video of the whole week of me and my husband being married. And there were no negatives to that week at all. There was nothing, there was like no stress that could have got me down that week. I was on cloud nine. And it was like, oh my God, I get to be with my husband all the time. I don't have to go home. Our home is together. We're kind of in this honeymoon phase, cook together. We get to sleep together. We get to do anything we want together. Who allowed this? We get to grow in our adultship together. That's wild, you know? So yeah, that was just the phase 1 of the infatuation, which leads us then into phase 2, which is the reality of coexisting, which I recorded earlier. So if you cut into something that looks like me from like an earlier time, that's what it is. I forgot to mention, but I do mention in a couple seconds, me and my husband's infatuation, well, at least my infatuation kind of ended when me and my husband went through a hardship, and that hardship really did force reality onto the both of us. The hardship is something that we're still even now dealing with, but that to me was our transition of, oh, we're no longer just in infatuation, we faced a hardship, and now we're going into the reality of coexisting. Yeah, I think I was at the point where I was talking about how me and my husband went through hardship that revealed certain things to do the both of us and about the both of us as a couple and as individuals dealing with how to handle it as a couple, which then kind of launched us into the reality of coexisting with one another. One another. That hardship also launched us into how to deal with disagreements when you live with somebody, because when you're dating and you deal with disagreements, it's you can just walk away for a little bit. You know, you can go to your own space, you can be in your own room, you can be encapsulated in your own world. But when your world is revolving around your relationship, that in the beginning is very hard to deal with, coming off of infatuation of the person that you love. You know, that's difficult. So, I mean, and it wasn't only like that hardship that we went through that has been our only ever hardship. We've gone through like very many different things. Catering to each other's needs is something that is huge. When you're infatuated with each other, it's so easy for every little thing, every little gesture to be like the world to you. But then after that infatuation of just like, oh, well, I'm just kind of like, I understand, you know, this is who you are, this is who I am, we're kind of comfortable with each other, that's whatever. You still do need to figure out how to cater to each other's desires and keep things fun and keep things, you know, like exciting. Like you always want to be excited about the person that you're with. And I'm not saying like only having been married a year, like, oh, me and my husband sometimes get bored with each other, because I really don't get bored with my husband. It's only been a year, but I can see how it would be so easy to get bored and to not be excited. Because in some little moments, in some little phases of our relationship, sometimes I do get a little bit of that feeling of like a feeling of like temporary boredom, not like a feeling of, oh, we've been bored with each other for like months or years. You know, we're not at that phase. The reality of coexisting with your partner, having never lived with your partner, in our case, has just been difficult because we're, you know, different people. Like I said, we're an interracial couple as well. We have fundamental differences on both of the way that we were raised and like different beliefs that come with that, which is sometimes hard and awkward to work through. And there have been some disagreements that we've needed to go to other people to help us with, you know? Like I'm such a proponent of not only being in an individual therapy, but if you absolutely need to outsource all of your resources as well, couples counseling as well, for things that are harder to talk about, things that you can't understand about your spouse is hard to deal with on its own. Like there are some things that I don't understand about my husband that I needed help understanding. So we needed to go to certain people and get like certain resources that would help us with that. And I find that that takes like strength and a lot of understanding and empathy to work through. Also, I feel like there's this stigma against couples counseling where it's like, oh, only couples who are in trouble go to couples counseling. That's just how I feel it is, how I feel sometimes it's viewed. But I think that it's great that you can say like, no, we need help figuring out how to seek understanding between each other so we can be stronger and we can have a better foundation of stability by like having understanding of not only us as individuals but us as like a partnership and what we want out of this life, you know? It's easy in the infatuation stage to romanticize things about your partner, but then when the reality hits of it, it just is a little bit harder. And phase 3, I find that we're right now in this is a mix of the infatuation and the reality of the marriage, which is just some days I like sit and I am at work and I'll just be doing my little thing on my desk, and I'll be like, I remember I have a husband. Oh my god, that date that we went on the other day was like amazing. It was great. I miss that. You know, I'll just be thinking about him in that way. But then I'll get home and my infatuation will be like it'll go from like here to be like here and being like, oh, he didn't make the bed today and he left the stupid toothpaste out of the cup that it's supposed to be supposed to be in. Like that's the stupid stuff that I get annoyed over now. So yeah, that is the reality of coexisting. That is a phase as well as the component that I wanted to talk about. And I really don't feel like a lot of other people speak about the reality of coexisting when they're talking about marriage, because it is something that is hard to talk about because everybody's marriage is incredibly different. One of the things about the reality of coexisting with somebody is like finances. Me and my husband are incredibly different on the way that we view finances. I having grown up with like a gamut of what my parents' finances were, like I feel like my parents were financially stable up until I was maybe in like middle school and high school, which is like where it counted for me. And so my mindset going into college and even now is just like do as much as you can, really set yourself up for financial success in any way possible, and don't like worry about spending too much. Like don't overindulge in things. But my husband, I like that he indulges in things. I like that he lives in abundance and I don't. Because you need that balance of like practical versus experience based. And I find that he's more experience based, less practicality, still has some practicality, you know, like he still thinks a little bit about where he wants to spend some of like the money that he gets and the money that we have together. But I'm very I live in a world of lack, which is not how I want to be, but he lives in a world of there's so much, you know, like we have a lot. But I'm trying to tell myself and really like force that into my head because um as it relates to certain things, like right now, me and my husband are like in a tiny little, it's not even like a crazy disagreement, which is why I'm bringing it up, but like we're in a disagreement about paying something off, and I wanted him to donate plasma just to pay something off. And he's like, I why would I need to donate plasma? Like I don't need to do that. So why would I want to do that? I'm not gonna do that. The money will come, you know? I'm like, no, but like if we could just have extra money, just to have extra money and you can pay this thing off quickly, why not just do it? And then you're probably thinking, like, why don't you just donate plasma, Ruth? I can't. My veins are too small. Apparently, it's like a Ugandan thing. I don't know. We like bicker about finances in little ways because we don't really have like big stakes on finances that we're bickering about now, except for like maybe saving up for a car. That's like going to be one of our bigger purchases together, which will then lead to like saving up for a house, which will then lead to saving up for starting a family, which will then lead up to like the one of the little things that we disagree on right now is just I don't like that he spends a lot on food when he goes out, which is just like I need to take a chill pill. It's not that but there are sometimes where I am right in that thought of like, no, sometimes he does need to be more practical. But then there's sometimes where I could just loosen up and be focused on the fact that we have one life to live and sure get Chipotle. But like sometimes I catch myself getting a little bit too like over involved in my anxiety about that, which affects the way that I view him and the way that we discuss that, and then builds this like tension in disagreeing when it's like none of us are wrong. We just both have these experiences that are wildly different that we're trying to combine into one. If you want your needs met, make them known. And that's I think at the basis of like the reality of coexisting with somebody is just that idea of you have to really state your needs and your desires in a way that makes sense to the both of you and the both of you can work with. But sometimes it's hard to know what that is. You feel me? The joy and stability of a partnership is why I love being married so much. I love that me and my husband always are going to come home to each other. I love that even when I'm angry at my husband, I can look at him and be like, wow. I mostly love that this is somebody who I look at Chris like almost every day. This isn't a problem, but this is like something that I overthink about. I look at him all the time and I'm like, I we could have a family right now and I'd be like chilling. Which is a lie. It's a lie. Financially, I don't think I would be chilling. But just emotionally, I just feel so grounded with him. Like I just feel so much joy and trust in our relationship that I'm excited for our future and for our future children and for the life that we're building. But yeah, so I want to acknowledge the best parts of me and my husband's relationship. My husband, I think, is one of the funniest people that I know. There is not a day that goes by that I do not laugh extremely hard around him. There is nobody that I can think of whenever I think like who's the funniest person in my life, it's always him as number one. And the fact that we're always laughing is something that just makes me feel like we have like a very successful relationship and dynamic, because if you're always laughing, I don't know, like that's kind of just what I want my life to be based on, just a bunch of laughter. and just joy and happiness, as much as that sounds naive. It's also something I never want to let go of. Me and my husband are so incredibly committed to each other, and I know that sounds like duh, like you're married, like duh. We're committed to each other in a way that makes me feel incredibly comfortable, and from day one, my husband has made me feel incredibly comfortable. I think that a lot of people view comfort as kind of like you got comfortable in your relationship, yikes. You should never get too comfortable because that's when you start taking people for granted and looking at them as like boring and common. But really, I have never felt so secure with somebody. And I think at the end of the day, like the only advice I could ever give to anybody that should apply to like anybody in any relationship is that you should feel comfortable with them and feel like you're with your best friend. I know everybody says like make sure you're with your best friend, but what that means to me is just be with somebody who doesn't make you feel like their love comes with conditions. And I don't feel like that with my husband. Another great part about our relationship, me and my husband are both heavy introverts. We're heavy introverts. We do not like to go out together. And when we do go out together, it's like once, no, it's like 3 times a month. Not kidding. Not kidding. And tonight we're staying and we're doing a puzzle. Like that's our exciting like Monday night Memorial Day celebration for what we're going to be doing for our holiday together. That's what I'm going to tell people. I mean, my husband stayed and did a puzzle because we're 80 years old. I also love that we're both very youthful. I know, like, duh, we're 23 and 24. We're young. But I like that we can do things like go see the Mario movie and that games, and we play games consistently, and that we're both really competitive at Uno, and that we keep our place like colorful and happy. That's the other day, my husband and I were in bed talking about the Bee movie because we enjoy dissecting movies and talking about them. And I thought it was just a cute little funny conversation, and I love how much we laughed in that conversation. I just need to be sold further. Why does he get into a relationship with a human girl?
Because the girl he runs into, like Charlie understands him and gets what he's saying, but they're stealing our honey.
The cause.
Yeah, it's just a love interest, you know? But she was there helping Barry B. Benson.
She was a volunteer while he was pursuing this lawsuit.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, he doesn't have any money.
But how did they get connected? Why did they even meet? I talked about something in another video about how I was gonna make a video on sex and Christianity because as a Christian who lost her virginity before getting married and now I'm married, I have some thoughts about that, but I've decided that I'm going to save that video for when I come out with the Patreon. And you're probably like, "Oh my god, that's so annoying that you want to come out with a Patreon." But really, there are just some things that I don't want to just put on the internet for my potential for my potential coworkers or friends I'm not close to see because I don't want that just out there. I want a Patreon so bad because I want to just build a community, and it's not going to be expensive at all. I think the lowest tier I'm going to do is like $3 for people to join my Patreon so that we can just enjoy things. Like I'm going to make my tiers of Patreon are going to be friends, best friends, spouses. And for my spouse level of content, I'm just going to upload as many videos as possible. I'm going to do a podcast on it on the Patreon, and I'm going to be so committed to my spouses. And I think I'm going to put the video of sex and Christianity for like all tiers, but then I'm going to upload as often as I can for the spouses, and then maybe do like 3 videos a week for like friends and best friends, and then best friends will have their own little like specific. I want to do like a book club thing. I have a bunch of ideas that I want to expand on basically. And yeah, I want to get more into the tea of my relationship, my friendships, my everything on a specific platform where I don't feel like nervous that one day my boss is going to call me and be like, "So you were talking about our institution the other day on your platform?" It's made me nervous because I know that this channel is going to grow. That is what I have on the tea of being married for a year and the tea of marriage itself, my marriage. I don't know if the tea was piping hot. Maybe it was just kind of like mild, like maybe you set it out a little bit too long and it's like not really hot, but it like it'll do. Like maybe that's it. Please, this is so annoying. I know. But if you liked any part of this video, if you liked any facet of it, any of the effort that I put in, just like let me know in any way. Leave a comment, leave a like, do a subscribe, like anything. Yeah, and I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, or night.